Y'all said this was Game of Thrones in outer space and I didn't believe you, but I watched it and you're absolutely correct. I am completely invested in this series after just one episode, you guys. It's been a while. I have needed my fantasy bucket filled, my sci-fi bucket filled, and Dune Prophecy, episode 1, The Hidden Hand, has done that for me. If you guys are new here, my name is Ashley. This is My Sweet Perspective, where I give my take on all things TV and movie related, and I am here to put you on, and we are back to talk episode 1, Dune Prophecy, The Hidden Hand. Listen. We got a lot of information. This was exceptional world building in one episode, you guys. This felt like a movie that I was sat for, and is actually sending me back down the Dune trail. Now, I want to say many years ago, I read Dune, the Butlerian Jihad. I've read a couple in the series, so I'm vaguely familiar. It's been years though, right? I didn't watch the movies with Timothée Chalamet, and I'll actually be doing a little watch along. So keep your eyes posted for that. Make sure you have the notification bell hit and make sure you're subscribed. But we are going to dive into this episode and talk about what stood out to me and some of my theories, where I think the series is going to go. I am just so well pleased, you guys. I didn't get Wheel of Time this year. House of the Dragon, it's not Game of Thrones. You know what I'm saying? So I have been looking for something to fill my cup in this area. And this did it. So as the episode opens up, we see a black screen, words come up. Victory is celebrated in light, but won in darkness. Now, what does that mean? We're also asked a very important question in the beginning of this series, and that is, what do you believe, the truth or a prophecy? Right? And it's really talking about how history is written by the victors, right? And so we talk about the war between the thinking machines and people, and how House Atreides, they prove themselves in battle, but the Harkonnens, honey, they went AWOL. And as such, these houses, these great names, these families have had these reputations 100 years later. And so now the Harkonnens are looked upon as a house that are just loathsome, cowardly, not good for anything, while House Atreides is them people. That's the team that you want to be on. Now, keep in mind that this takes place, the events that we are seeing in this show are 10,141 years before Paul Atreides. And let's get into it. So we open up and we meet two of the Harkonnen sisters. We meet Valia and her sister Tula, and they are both a part of this group called the Sisterhood. This is where they abandon their family name and they become part of this new family, right? And so we immediately meet Valia. She's narrating and she is talking about how when she came into this sisterhood, the Mother Superior was someone called Raquella, I believe was her name. And she had a similar vision that Valia had, right? There are certain zealots in the sisterhood who didn't believe in Raquella's methods, but nevertheless, she persisted because she had visions. If you have seen Wheel of Time, I would liken the sisterhood, the truthsayers, to the Aes Sedai. If you watched Game of Thrones, I would liken them to maesters, but with powers. Does that make sense? Drop it in the comments if you picking up what I'm putting down. And we are on the planet Wallach. Is it Wallach 11 or Wallach 9, child? I might have written that backwards, but that's the home world of the sisterhood. And Raquella is on her deathbed at this point, but we find out that Raquella had a plan basically for eugenics, right? Which was, we are going to isolate the genetic material of the royal bloodlines, and we are going to create someone who is going to bend to our will, potentially a truthsayer, so that we can get them inducted into the sisterhood and we can watch them and make sure that they follow our instruction, because Raquella's vision is telling us that a reckoning will soon come. Right? She sees the machines, she sees blood. We see a lot of things in this vision. We see fire and the burning truth. And she basically on her deathbed calls Valia in there and is like, you have to be the one, because Valia is on deck with whatever Mother Superior wanted. Valia was about that life, okay? And she said, we need to get all of our resources. We need to strengthen and grow the sisterhood. And we need to pull from this genetics pool and basically create this leader that is going to lead the Imperium, right? That's the plan. And so Dorothea, which is Raquela's granddaughter, is also there, who is really next in line to inherit the leadership of the sisterhood. And she agrees with it. But after Raquela dies, honey, Dorothea says, listen, I'm going to dispose of this genetic little eugenics project that my granny said. And Valia said, well, you told your grandmother what you were going to do. You told Mother Superior that you were going to go along with it. She said, because I didn't want no smoke. She was on her deathbed. Just let her go in peace. Next thing we know, Valia's called all of the voices from the seven seas and is like, take out your blade. Baby, the waters are rippling. Stick it in your neck. I didn't want it to come to this, but you made it like this. Now we fast forward to 30 years later. And after these events, and this is 116 years after the war with the thinking machines. And Valia is now the Mother Superior. She is the mother of the sisterhood. And basically, we're seeing her grant or decline requests. We see some of the more, I guess, the bigger houses requesting truthsayers. She gives one to one. She tells one no. And the lady says, well, listen, this is the fourth request from House Harkonnen for a truthsayer. And she said, for the fourth time, tell them no. Valia is not giving into this Harkonnen name. Again, when you join the sisterhood, you put away all those things. And she said they still no good. Tell them no again. And so then we later find out in this episode that, again, it's been 30 years. And so we do have a prospect in Inez, aka Nezzy, and she's the princess. And she is soon to get married to join her house to this other house and basically become a truthsayer. So she will come to the sisterhood's camp and learn from their teachers and all that. We also get a glimpse into what the training process is like. So not only are they trained in martial arts, but they are trained in their different gifts, right? How to discern a lie from the truth, how to operate in certain ways. And I really hope that we get to explore that more. With Valia, we got a taste of it very early on in the episode, but we really didn't get to see much of the supernatural stuff on their side this episode. And so I'm hoping we dive a little bit deeper there. While they're there, the prince comes, Constantine, and that's the princess's brother. And he's basically staking it out and is like, what are my sister's accommodations going to be? Is she going to be comfortable? And they said, listen, she's going to live just like the rest of the damn pledges, the initiates. She's going to live just like them in bunk beds and she'll be just fine. He said, that's not going to work. She said, I don't give a damn. She said, sorry, that's not how this works. Because one thing you learn about Valia, you're not going to punk her. You are not going to punk her. You are not going to make her change her mind. And that could be good or bad, because later in the episode, I think that comes back to bite her a little bit. And so next Constantine gets back home, we see Inez and the new sword master, Kieran Atreides. And they are just sparring. She's trying to hone her skills. And we find out that she's getting married into the Rakesi household. I believe that's the name. And she's marrying a 9-year-old. Now, her mother is vastly against this. She has her hackles up about the whole alliance. However, Nez is like, I planned this. She's like, you know how to barter and do everything you do, mama. So do I, because I want some free years to live my life. I want to become a truthsayer. I want to explore. I want to have a level of autonomy and independence. And so it's still weird. The child marriages are always going to freak me out. And so her house, Inez's and Constantine's house, is the Camino house, I believe. And then again, she's marrying into the Rakesi household. And so we also see her father and his father, leaders of these two great houses, coming together and making final terms on what this union is going to look like. We find out that in the capital, there is a big issue going on. There's uprisings, there's anarchy potentially against the Kimono house, or what is it? Camino household. And so there's just that. Now, all the while, you'll find out that the truthsayers are hand in hand with every house leader, basically, apparently, except the Harkonnens, right? And they have a truthsayer that stands right by their side and basically helps them come to conclusions, discern if this person's telling the truth, guiding them with wisdom. And so I'm going to screw up the name of this house, Camino. House Camino, they have Kasha. And Kasha is near and dear. We find out that she is actually the one who found Nez, who has been with Nez all this time and has really watched her learn and grow and do all these things. So anyway, he doesn't like it. The Rakesi household, it seemed like they are social climbers is what it's giving to me so far. But again, we'll see how that goes. So now we have to have the little fake ceremony, which is just preliminary. But before the ceremony, Kasha has a vision. And this vision, she says, was not a regular nightmare. This was a warning. This was a prophecy. And basically, she sees the rotten pomegranate, which is part of the ceremony that Nezzy is going to have with Pruitt, I believe his name is. And she's like, this is going to be a disaster. We see Nezzy looking up to her and saying, this is your fault. You did this. And so Kasha's like, I need to get back to the Sisterhood and tell them what's going on because we need to thwart this wedding. Well, when she comes back and talks to Valia, Valia is like, listen, there's nothing that I'm going to change. This is what we have put out there. This is a plan 30 years in the making. This little issue is not going to ruin anything. And Kasha's like, well, listen, I really feel strongly about this. Tula is like, listen to Kasha, but she's not. And so we see that unfurl. Meanwhile, back on the other planet, we see Desmond Hart, aka Ragnar Lothbrok, enter the picture. And apparently he's a survivor. He didn't survive the battles and he is back to work at the behest of Camino. But honestly, he has a bigger purpose because I honestly believe that Desmond Hart is the damn reckoning. All right, I knew it when he came. He calls them witches. He calls the Sisterhood witches. He literally loathes them. From his first instance, I could tell. Kasha had to admit, though, before she left that he was telling the truth. And so he talks about the battle. Everybody was consumed. He made it. But now there's grumblings in the Imperium. And basically, Camino needs to make some strategic moves. And so they're talking, and Camino's letting him know, I feel very uneasy about this. And Desmond is like, well, leave it to the gods. And Camino says, listen, if it's up to the gods, they would just thwart this whole wedding because I feel like I'm in a vice. And I guess he said, say less. I guess Desmond said, say less. Meanwhile, back in Wallach, we see the Sisterhood and we're meeting some of the initiates. We meet a Lila, who is this empath, who is beautiful. Then we meet this one burly woman, honey. And she gets up there and she's like, this is too easy. I can spot a liar this. And she proceeds to tell this whole story about how she was trafficked and all these things. And her parents sold her to the flesh peddlers and all this thing. And then she says she was lying. And so I think she's going to be significant. And I think Lila, who is more docile, they say she's a born empath. These two, I don't know if they're going to be at odds, but Tula likes Lila and Valia likes the other one. Valia doesn't like any show of weakness. So you have to be super strong to gain her respect. But I think Lila is going to be key in this. Now, back on the main planet, honey, where the wedding, the ceremonies, all that's going on. Nezzy and Pruitt are up there. They do the pomegranate. He's like, listen, we don't need to talk. I'm like, sir, you're 9 years old. Next thing we know, he pulls out this little damn fidget spinner that turns out to be one of the thinking machines, a little mini one that turns into a dinosaur. I said, what in the Transformers is this? And why do you have these? Because the thinking machines war says, seriously, everything is forbidden at this point. And that's what Nezzy mama say. Listen, that's forbidden. And they ready to lock them up, throw away the key, do all of that. And Camino gives a dispensation, no, don't hurt the boy. Well, later that night, the little boy still has the same toy. He playing with it. Desmond rolls up on him. And this is when I said, oh, this is not good. I said, he finna unalive this boy. Baby, the way he burnt him from the inside out, sizzled him, and all across the damn galaxy, Kasha is burning simultaneously. Now Valia has to look at this whole picture because what's really good. And Desmond is on a mission. I believe that he is the reckoning. And when Valia sees Kasha burning up, this is the burning truth that the reckoning has arrived. And so how Valia moves from this point out is going to be super key. Again, I feel as though Desmond is not finna play with the Sisterhood, these truthsayers. He don't want them around. He is on his own mission, and I cannot wait to see what happens. Desmond is the ultimate manipulator, and he's got powers, and it's in male form. I don't know, but the Sisterhood's gonna have to come out of their bag to compete with this because Camino found a recording and we see him engulfed by the storm, by the dirt, by the dune, and he comes out on the other side of it well and good. Oh, Kieran and Nezzy, they get Bucky naked. They go to the club to celebrate her last night as a free woman, all that. But it seems like Kieran had a girlfriend at the bar with the blue eyes. And I don't know if that's because of the spice or whatever. You guys help me out, help me remember. Again, stay tuned. We will be doing a watch along for all of the Dune movies. I'm even probably gonna go back to the 1970s, 80s version because we need to get all of this tea about what's happening so far in the future. But I loved how they set this up. I did not feel lost in one bit. I felt like it was great storytelling, very woman centered in this first episode. But I feel like this galaxy, this universe, this world is going to expand greatly over these next episodes, and I could not be more elated, you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to comment, subscribe, do all of those things for me. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And I'll be back weekly, honey. And we'll be talking about this weekly as well on Wednesdays. So make sure that you are here for the Dune lives. And the schedule's subject to change. So again, make sure you have the notification bell so you don't miss it. And if you're not over in our Discord, go ahead and come over there. I will have the link in the description box below. Thank you for watching, and I will see y'all very soon.